Before boarding Air Force One to fly to Iowa, President Donald Trump made his first public comments about his administration pausing weapons transfers to Ukraine. "We've given so many weapons," he said. "We are working with them and trying to help them." But he suggested that his predecessor provided too much. "Biden emptied out our whole country giving them weapons, and we have to make sure that we have enough for ourselves," he said. According to Associated Press, Trump said he and Russian President Vladimir Putin talked about Iran and the war in Ukraine during a pretty long call Thursday morning. He said he didn't make any progress on a deal to end the fighting in Ukraine. "I'm not happy about that," Trump said. "I didn't make any progress with him today at all." Trump spoke to reporters before boarding Air Force One at Joint Base Andrews on Thursday, congratulating GOP leadership in Congress for passing Trump's big tax bill. "It's going to make this country into a rocket ship," Trump said of the "one big beautiful bill."
And perhaps a lot of you are going with us. How are you? And we have a very big crowd, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're sort of celebrating like the biggest bill of its kind ever signed. And it's going to make this country into a rocket ship. It's going to be really great.
Mr. President, he met with a lot of House Republicans yesterday. What got them to yes?
I think when you go over the bill, it was very easy to get him to a yes. You know, we went over that bill, and point after point, biggest tax cut in history, great for security, great on the southern border. Immigration is covered. We covered just about everything. Again, it's the biggest bill ever signed of its kind.
Mr. President.
Some House Republicans that were concerned about the bill said that they had conversations with you where you made some promises. What promises did you make? Did you tell Representative Clyde that he should have some action on gun rights? What sort of deals did you make with those?
Well, I talked to a lot of different Republicans in doing it, and we had a good time in being there. I did not have much of a problem with any of them. As you know, we had 2 negative votes, but we had whatever it was, the final vote. Yeah, I think a few of them I did, but I think they would have gone yes anyway. No deals, no deals. What I did is we talked about how good the bill is. I mean, that's a deal, I guess, when you think about it. But obviously convinced them, but it was not hard. This is a great bill. This is going to be a great bill for the country.
Wanted to vote no to this beautiful bill. Do you want to primary him too?
Well, I was disappointed that he did that. There were 2 of them that voted no, so I was disappointed that he voted no.
Mr. President, call with Vladimir Putin today at Congress.
We had a call. It was a pretty long call. We talked about a lot of things, including Iran, and we also talked about, as you know, the war with Ukraine. And I'm not happy about that.
Mr. President,
No, I didn't make any progress with him today at all.
Mr. President, how much growth can the country expect from the one?
I think we're going to get great growth. I think we'll have growth at record numbers. This is going to be something that's amazing, and everybody was watching it all over the world. And I want to congratulate the Speaker and Tom Emmer and Steve Scalise and everybody else. I mean, they worked so hard. So hard. This has really been going on for over a year, if you think about it. I think, to be exact, about 14 months. And this was the culmination, and I guess it ended a lot earlier. A lot of people thought it would end up the following afternoon. Well, it ended up late in the evening, but they were great. They were great.
What do you think it says?
And by the way, on the Senate side, I thought Senator Thune did a fantastic job.
What do you think it says about the power you amassed within your party compared to your first term that you were able to get this over the finish line?
I think I have more power now. I do. You know, I could say, oh, gee, I don't know. I think I probably do because we've had a great record of success. You know, my first term was very, very successful. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. I think we're going to blow it away this term. But, you know, we've proven certain things. And, yeah, I think probably it's got more gravitas, more power. They're going to be very proud tomorrow. So we're signing at about 5 o'clock. And at about 5 o'clock, we're going to have B-2s and F-22s and F-35s flying right over the White House. And the Speaker and I and John Thune, we're all there together with most Republican senators and congressmen and women. And it's going to be a great day. So we'll be signing with those beautiful planes flying right over our heads.
Why did you pause weapons shipments to Ukraine? Why did you pause weapons shipments?
We haven't. We're giving weapons, but we've given so many weapons. But we are giving weapons, and we're working with them and trying to help them. But we haven't. You know, Biden emptied out our whole country giving them weapons, and we have to make sure that we have enough for ourselves.
Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives have criticized the Trump administration's decision to suspend ammunition supplies to Ukraine, which they say could strengthen Russia at a key moment in the war. Politico reports. So, after the White House acknowledged that the Pentagon had frozen critical weapons deliveries to Ukraine, U.S. House of Representatives member Brian Fitzpatrick said he would actively look into this issue. We must build our own defense industrial base here in the United States while providing the necessary assistance to our allies who are defending their freedom from the invasion of a brutal dictator, Fitzpatrick said. Lawmakers from across the political spectrum called the arms freeze approved under the administration of former President Joe Biden a violation of Trump's renewed commitments to Kiev, which he made last week at a NATO summit in The Hague, including the possible sale of Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine. Republican Congressman Michael McCaul said he was investigating very carefully whether the Pentagon's freeze on aid to Ukraine violates legislation passed by Congress in 2024. He said the pause was ill-timed because it relieved Trump's pressure on Russian ruler Vladimir Putin to agree to a peace deal with Ukraine. If you want him to come to the negotiating table, you have to use leverage and pressure, and that could be Lindsey Graham's economic sanctions and the flow of weapons. If you eliminate the flow of weapons, yes, then you have no leverage with Putin to negotiate. McCaul said Democrats have also criticized the halt in arms supplies to Ukraine, but some of them do not blame Trump himself for this, but point to senior Pentagon officials. In particular, Senator Jeanne Shaheen wrote to U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon's top policy advisor Elbridge Colby. She said that such a pause undermines Trump's commitments made at the NATO summit and called on Secretary of State Marco Rubio to ensure that these commitments are fulfilled. The Trump administration's mixed signals undermine its own agenda to bring Putin to the negotiating table. This decision under Hegseth's leadership will only make it more difficult to achieve a just and lasting peace. Now is not the time for arbitrary decisions that undermine our national interests. Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal called the rationale for the arms freeze misleading and perhaps even disingenuous. He said both Democrats and Republicans were surprised by the news and that the Ukrainians would suffer the most. People will lose their lives. More civilians will be injured, maimed. More homes, hospitals and schools will be destroyed. The Russians do not even pretend that they are attacking only military targets, he said. At the same time, some Republicans defended Trump's decision to hold up arms sales. Representative Brian Mast, a member of the House of Representatives, said he had not heard of specific delays but stressed the importance of keeping ongoing monitoring of supplies. We need to make sure that the supply chain works smoothly. But if checks are happening constantly, it keeps everyone on their toes. If there were no such constant control, then when something really needs to be checked, everything would stop. But this way, the system works more stably, he noted.